Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. Today's Everything Music, we're going to talk about drop voicings. There are open voicings, there are close voicings, and there are drop voicings. We're going to talk about what they are and how to use them. It's coming up next. Drop voicings are commonly used in jazz guitar, jazz piano, in big band music, and voicings of sax solis, things like that. They're constantly used, and there's a few different types of drop voicings. So let's first of all talk about the four-way close voicing. Now I have a C major 7 chord in four-way close, which means that this is from low note to high, and they are just consecutive intervals in the closest possible position: root, third, fifth, and seventh. Don't be confused by the numbers here. But we'll call this the fourth voice, the third voice, the second voice, and the first voice, the top voice. That's in the soprano, or in the melody. Okay, a drop 2 voicing that you'll hear in people like Bill Evans playing in jazz guitar, Wes Montgomery, Joe Pass. Pretty much every jazz guitar player uses drop voicings. That's very common because of the spacing of the intervals on the guitar strings. You have to use drop voicings in order to, because it's hard to play four-way close voicings, and they actually don't even sound that good when you use them that way. So a four-way close voicing on the guitar is this: simply C, E, G, B, just as they would come in the order of every other note of the C major scale. On the piano, a four-way close voicing sounds like this. I've got C, E, G, B, right next to each other. C, skip the D, go to the E, skip the F, go to G, skip the A, go to the B. That's your voice 4, 3, 2, 1. So a drop 2 voicing is simply this. You take the second voice from the top and you drop it down the octave, okay? It's kind of like when we do our spread triads where we take the middle note and drop it down. Well, you're taking the second voice from the top, so 4, 3, 2, 1, taking the second voice, dropping it down the octave, and it sounds like this. A drop 2 voicing would be, you take the second note of the chord, the G, and drop it down the octave. So that would be a C major 7 drop 2 voicing. A drop 3 voicing, I take the four-way close, I take the third voice, which is the E, and I drop it down the octave. And I play it like that. So it's going to be E, C, G, B. Drop 3 works the same way. You're taking the voice 3, which would be the E, okay, and dropping it down the octave. So that voicing of that chord would be E, C, G, B. And it sounds like this. The next voicing that we have is the drop 2 and 3. Pretty self-explanatory. We drop the second voice down the octave, and we drop the third voice down the octave. Obviously, the third voice is going to be the lowest one of the chord, so it'll be E, G, C, B. And it sounds like this. The drop 2 and 3 voicing, I take the C major 7 chord, I'm going to drop the 2 middle notes down the octave. I'm going to drop the G down the octave to here, and the E down to here. So it's going to be E, G, C, B. That is a C major 7 drop 2 and 3 voicing. The last voicing, the drop 2 and 4 voicing, you take the second voice from the top and you take the lowest voice and you drop them down the octave. Okay? So this time, then this one you're going to still have the C as the lowest note, as your bass note. C, G, E, B. The drop 2 and 4 voicing, so I'm going to drop the second note, the G, down the octave, and I'm dropping the C down the octave, and I'm going to have this. So it's going to be C, G, E, B. That's a really spread out C major 7 voicing. Four-way close, drop 2 and 4. If you're going to play these close position voicings diatonically, let's say we take C major 7, then I move up D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, back to C major 7. What these are good for, they're not necessarily great for voicings, but when you want to play arpeggiated lines and you're coming down, those are really good for beat-up lines, knowing those four-way close. So you want to get those fingerings, you want to get those under your fingers where you can play them really rapidly like that as single notes. But let's say we take the drop 2 voicing. So I'm going to take the second voice from the top, the G, and I'm going to move it down the octave, okay? So it's going to be G, C, E, B. And if I move it diatonically, really cool sound, really cool sound. Very common voicing. You'll hear people like Bill Evans or Oscar Peterson. Tons of people will do that drop 2 voicing. The drop 3 voicing, I'll take the E, the third voice from the top, move it down the octave, and I'll play this diatonically. So here's... Then we have drop 2 and 3. So once again, the 2 internal notes are dropped down the octave. So the G goes down the octave and the E goes down the octave. And you've got cool sound. So that's a drop 2 and 3 voicing. And then the last one is the drop 2 and 4 voicing. Okay, so I'm taking the 2 voice, the G, moving it down the octave, and then taking the C and moving it down the octave. So that diatonically is going to sound like this. Those are your diatonic drop 2 and 4 voicings in the key of C. Now, one of the things you can do with this 4-way close voicing is change it into a block chord voicing or a double melody voicing. This is kind of something George Shearing would do. So if I take my C major 7 chord, I double the melody down the octave, so you get that sound. It's a really cool sound. Once again, listen to it. Now, another thing you can do with these drop voicings, so let's say I take this drop 2 voicing that we were talking about before. I take the G, move it down the octave. You can go up each inversion of the chord and do your drop voicing. So you got C, E, G, B. Then you go E, G, B, C. Once again, I'm going to take this voicing, the B, drop it down the octave. And that's going to be my next voicing of it. That's going to be my next inversion of your drop voicing, and so on and so forth. So you can take here and make this a drop 2 voicing there. Then I move up to the next inversion. Take the second note from the top, move it down the octave here. Then I go up another inversion. Take the second note from the top, which would be the C, and I got C, G, B, E. And then I do my last voicing here, second note from the top, which would be E, drop that down the octave, and you have that voicing. That's also a drop 2 voicing. So you can do this with any of your voicings. Your close position voicings, you can make it a double melody or George Shearing kind of sound. You can take your drop 2 voicings and move them in inversions. You can do your drop 3 voicings, do the same thing. You can do your drop 2 and 3 and do your drop 2 and 4. That's your drop voicings. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. I'm Rick Beato. Please subscribe here.